Over the years, I've spoken with many older adults who believed their worsening fatigue, muscle weakness, or mental fog was simply part of aging. They assumed feeling slower after 65 was unavoidable. And honestly, that belief is incredibly common. Because when symptoms appear gradually, people adapt to them little by little. They stop questioning them. A man named Harold, age 72, once described it this way. "It didn't happen overnight. I just slowly stopped feeling like myself. At first, it was low energy, then leg cramps at night, then difficulty concentrating, then exhaustion that sleep never seemed to fix. He thought he was just getting older. Several appointments later, he still had no clear answers. Everything looked mostly fine. But when his full medication list was finally reviewed carefully, a different picture started to appear. Not one issue, several overlapping ones. That's something many people over 60 never hear enough about. As the body ages, medications may affect people differently than they once did. The liver changes. Kidneys work more slowly. Recovery becomes less efficient. And many adults over 65 are taking several medications at the same time. Sometimes 5. Sometimes more. Each medication may have been prescribed for a valid reason, but combinations matter too. And unfortunately, short appointments do not always leave enough time to discuss the full picture. That's why understanding your medications matters so much. Not with fear, not with panic, but with awareness. Now let's talk about one of the most commonly used medications in older adults: statins. Millions of people take them every day to help manage cholesterol and support cardiovascular health. And for many people, statins play an important role. But there's another side to the conversation that deserves attention too. Statins may lower levels of something called CoQ10 inside the body. CoQ10 helps cells produce energy, especially in muscles and the heart. Some people taking statins notice fatigue, muscle discomfort, or reduced energy over time. Not everyone. But enough people that researchers have explored the connection for years. A woman named Judith, age 68, told me she stopped enjoying her daily walks because her legs constantly felt heavy. She assumed she was becoming less active simply because of age. Later, after discussing things with her healthcare provider, she learned more about CoQ10 and whether supplementation made sense for her situation. Within a few months, she said her energy felt more stable again. Now, this does not mean anyone should stop a prescribed medication on their own. That's never the message. The real message is this: questions matter, conversations matter, and understanding possible trade-offs matters too. Now let's move to something sitting in millions of medicine cabinets right now: ibuprofen and similar pain relievers. A lot of people use them regularly for joint discomfort, stiffness, or back pain, and occasionally using them may seem harmless. But long-term frequent use deserves attention, especially after 60. Some pain relievers may affect blood pressure patterns, fluid retention, and circulation when used continuously over long periods. Many people never connect these medications to how tired or swollen they feel later. A retired carpenter named Walter, age 70, had been taking over-the-counter pain relievers almost daily for years because of knee pain. He never mentioned it during appointments because he didn't consider it important. To him, it wasn't a real medication. But small daily habits matter, especially repeated over many years. Eventually, he began discussing alternative pain management strategies with his healthcare team, including topical options and physical therapy support. And interestingly, he noticed improvements not only in discomfort, but in overall energy as well. Again, this is why awareness matters. Not every problem comes from one dramatic cause. Sometimes, it's the accumulation of many smaller things happening quietly together. Now let's talk about another medication group that many older adults take for years without thinking much about it: acid reflux medications. Especially long-term daily use. These medications can be extremely helpful when genuinely needed. But stomach acid also plays important roles inside the body. It helps absorb nutrients like vitamin B12 and magnesium. And after 60, nutrient absorption already becomes less efficient naturally. That means long-term use may sometimes contribute to lower nutrient levels over time. Why does that matter? because low B12 may affect energy, memory, and nerve function. Low magnesium may influence muscle relaxation, sleep quality, and heart rhythm balance. The difficult part is that deficiencies often develop slowly. People simply feel more tired, more foggy, more drained, and assume it's normal aging again. A woman named Linda, age 71, spent years believing her constant fatigue was simply part of retirement and aging. But after more detailed testing, she discovered several nutrient levels were lower than expected. Small adjustments were made gradually with professional guidance. Months later, she described feeling more awake again. Not younger overnight, just more like herself. And honestly, that phrase comes up often. I finally feel like myself again. That matters, because healthy aging is not about becoming 25 again. It's about supporting the body well enough to maintain energy, clarity, and quality of life for as long as possible. Now here's something else many people overlook completely. Every medication has benefits, but many also have trade-offs. That doesn't make them bad, it simply means the full conversation should include both sides. And older adults deserve those conversations, especially when multiple medications are involved simultaneously. One specialist may focus on blood pressure, another on reflux, another on joint pain, but the body experiences everything together at the same time. That's why keeping a complete, updated medication list is incredibly important after 60. Every prescription, every supplement, every over-the-counter pill. Because sometimes the missing answer is not one medication, it's the interaction between several. Now, let's continue with something many people over 60 are never told clearly enough. Sometimes, the problem is not only what medications do individually, it's what they slowly remove from the body over time. And those changes may happen so gradually that people barely notice until years later. A man named Dennis, age 69, once described it perfectly. He said, "I didn't suddenly feel bad, I just slowly stopped feeling strong." That sentence stayed with me, because gradual decline often hides itself inside daily life. Less energy, less stamina, more brain fog, poor sleep, slower recovery. People assume this is simply aging, but sometimes the body is quietly missing important support. One overlooked example is magnesium. Magnesium helps support hundreds of functions inside the body: muscles, nerves, sleep quality, heart rhythm. And many older adults are not getting enough. Some medications may also lower magnesium levels over time, especially when used for many years. The difficult part is that low magnesium rarely announces itself dramatically. Instead, people notice things like night cramps, restless sleep, muscle tightness, fatigue, feeling off without understanding why. A woman named Teresa, age 67, dealt with nighttime leg cramps for nearly 3 years. Every morning she woke up exhausted because her sleep was constantly interrupted. Eventually, after discussing things with her healthcare provider, she began paying closer attention to hydration, nutrition, and mineral balance. Over time, the cramps became far less frequent. Again, not overnight, not magically, just gradual improvement through better support. Now let's talk about another important topic: blood thinners. These medications help many people reduce serious cardiovascular risks and can be extremely important in the right situations. But conversations around them should also include long-term monitoring and follow-up. Because after 60, balance matters. Too much clotting can create danger. But so can poor circulation, weakness, falls, or complications from multiple overlapping medications. That's why regular review matters so much. Not because medications are bad, but because bodies change over time. A medication that made perfect sense at 62 may deserve reevaluation at 72. Health is not static. The body changes, needs change, tolerance changes, and healthcare conversations should evolve too. Now there's another topic I want to approach carefully, because millions of older adults hear about it constantly: calcium supplements. For years, many people believed more calcium automatically meant stronger bones and healthier aging. But today, the conversation is more nuanced. The body needs balance, vitamin D matters, movement matters, nutrition matters, and where calcium goes inside the body matters too. That's why many healthcare professionals now focus on broader bone health support, instead of relying only on high-dose calcium supplements alone. A woman named Patricia, age 70, spent years taking multiple calcium tablets daily because she believed more must be better. But later, after discussing her overall health more carefully with her provider, she realized bone health involved much more than a single supplement. Strength training, walking, vitamin balance, diet quality, sleep. All of these pieces mattered together. And honestly, that's one of the biggest problems with modern health advice. People want one pill to solve complex problems, but the body rarely works that way. Real health support is usually layered: better sleep, better nutrition, movement, stress management, medication awareness, hydration, recovery. All these things interact together every single day. Now I want to pause and say something important. None of this means people should become afraid of medication. That is not the message. Modern medicine helps countless people live longer and better lives. The goal here is simply to encourage more informed conversations, especially for adults taking several medications at the same time, because sometimes symptoms people blame on aging are actually connected to medication burden, nutrient depletion, sleep disruption, or interactions nobody has reviewed carefully in years. And honestly, this happens more often than many people realize. A retired teacher named Eleanor, age 73, once brought every prescription bottle and supplement she owned into a single appointment. Not because she wanted to challenge anyone, she simply wanted clarity. And after reviewing everything together, several unnecessary overlaps were identified. A few gradual adjustments were made carefully over time. Months later, she described feeling mentally sharper and physically lighter again. That story matters because it highlights something simple but powerful. People deserve to understand what they are taking and why. Not blindly, not fearfully, just clearly. Now let's talk about one of the best habits older adults can build before medical appointments. Write everything down. Every medication, every supplement, every vitamin, every over-the-counter product. Many people forget to mention things they consider minor: pain relievers, sleep aids, heartburn tablets, herbal products. But all of it matters, especially together. And one of the smartest questions anyone over 60 can ask is this: are all of these still necessary for me today? That question alone can open incredibly important conversations. Now, before we finish, let's bring everything together clearly. First, feeling exhausted, foggy, or weak should not automatically be dismissed as just aging. Second, medication combinations matter more after 60 because the body processes things differently over time. Third, nutrient levels, sleep quality, hydration, and recovery all influence how people feel day to day. Fourth, regular medication reviews are incredibly valuable, especially when several prescriptions are involved. And finally, the goal is not fear. The goal is awareness. Better conversations, better questions, better long-term support for the body. Because healthy aging is not about perfection. It's about reducing unnecessary strain wherever possible. Small improvements matter: a better sleep routine, more movement, better nutrition, asking one important question during an appointment, reviewing medications more carefully. Those things may seem small individually, but together, they can meaningfully affect quality of life over time. And perhaps most importantly, you deserve to understand your own health clearly. You deserve explanations. You deserve thoughtful conversations. And you deserve to feel heard when something doesn't feel right in your body. Take care of yourself. Your heart, muscles, brain, and nervous system have supported you through decades of life. They deserve attention. They deserve support. And it's never too late to become more informed about what your body truly needs. One final reminder before we end. Everything shared here is general educational information and should always be discussed with a qualified healthcare professional before making changes to medications, supplements, or treatment routines.